Hey everyone, I don't have the same level of energy that was just up on the stage, but wow, that was really interesting, and it's kind of a nice segue then into three short but quick fireside chats with the three founders that we've heard from this morning. Kind of more so looking at the lived experience of the founder journey and just kind of diving under the hood a little more. So we'll start this off with Deb Dullen. So if Deb is still here, because I can't see because the lights are very bright. There we are. Yeah, we are. That's it. So, take a seat. Yeah, why not? We can get it. Let me see. Okay, yeah, it's on.
Am I on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Deb, how's the morning?
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that last video.
I feel really energized.
Like, yes.
So
and I had a really nice conversation with a man I hugged that I don't know and his name yet.
that's it. That's it. So, Deb, founder, CEO of BioTrace, Pain Trace, but you weren't always a founder. You kind of have a brilliant career at all levels of healthcare and research. So my first question, why leave it? Why start the company? Why dive into it? I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more about the passion and the drive to build BioTrace and Pain Trace.
Sure. Yeah, so I think all of my career I've been that person that's been lucky enough, blessed enough to be at sort of this cutting edge, but not bleeding edge, luckily, place in healthcare with proteomics, genomics. I got to be in the golden age of orthopedics a little bit. And at certain people, and I had somebody say this to me one time, they said, "Do you get bored about every 5 years?" And I went, and I looked back and I thought, yeah, about every 5 years, there's something new on the horizon. But you know when you're really onto something that you really are passionate about. And quite frankly, I got involved with pain via dumb luck. I met a person on a train, and I got in line one day. But the reality is it's been about 9 years in, and I'm still not bored. And I think that we as a group have a big potential to really make change. And I remember being in an airport bathroom changing prior to a meeting in Maine and chatting with a lady about her daughter that had chosen to go work with NIH and in neuro rather than be an individual working directly with each patient. And the reason for that was that she wanted to be able to change a larger group of people's lives.
Yeah.
Not just one at a time.
But that's kind of the passion and the drive, because when you're inside a brick and mortar establishment, you might be able to help 8, 9, 10 people, but when you combine that with technology, that number, it's exponential.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how do you feel the dynamics change when you kind of swap to the founder's side? Now that you're you're not in the research setting, you're now dealing with the researchers to further your research. I know there's an SBIR grant in the works over in the US, and you're kind of on the other side of everything now.
The good part is I have a really great team of people that I work with, so I could go, you do that. I have to go to Ireland. And yeah. And so, and in fact, you know, that I think the friendships are a really big role. One of the individuals that would have been on one of the panels here, he is actually in the background out of one of the healthcare networks that we're working with, and he's working with the team that I work with at BioTrace, and they're doing the SBIR grant while I sit here and chat with you. Or so they're probably sleeping right now.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
It does.
Yeah. And then how has your view on the importance of what you created changed over the last, let's say you said it's been 9 years of fun, but especially in the last 2 or 3 years, like the impact of what your technology can bring from what you've seen in the veterinarian world, and then speaking with Dr. Michael Zuck, being in it, testing, like how has that perspective or drive kind of changed?
I think that we always knew that pain is a hub symptom. So from that perspective, it's always been exciting, just when you look at your career path and where you've gone and the variety of different maybe disease types that you've worked with. So knowing that you can go back to people that you've worked with in the past or meet new people in the future and be able to connect all of that, that's something that's been an ongoing piece of knowledge. But in the past couple of years, we've actually realized, because of the way that we measure pain, that we not only measure pain, but because of the parts of the brain that are part of the pain matrix, we also measure affective state. So we've been measuring anxiety. We've been working with individuals that are seated quietly in a chair, but they're going through neuromodulation, and we're measuring those effects. So that's been a real eureka in the past couple of years as we go from pain to the biological and being very aware of that, but finding out that we're much more in tune with the psychological too. And then putting that into the perspective of somebody's life. And so when I talk about how does ice cream decrease your risk of heart disease, I get really intrigued by the psychosocial factors. Yeah. And how does AI and being able to look at the health determinants and being able to look at people that live in inner cities, and if you give them more access to green space, that changes their health outcome. What does that mean? And when I first met Dr. Zuck, Mike Zuck, he's the one that introduced me to the concept of forest walking. Or wait, is that right? Is that what it's called? I've forgotten. I haven't talked about it and thought about it for so long. But walk through a forest, breathe in basically the oils that are being emitted from certain evergreens, and the qualities that those oils have on you, the calming that it has of being in a natural setting. And then look at the biomarkers, the cortisol rates that are what we look at for outcomes, and see how just taking a walk in the woods makes a difference.
That would be a fun research study if I just had to walk in the woods.
Right? And they prescribed it in Japan and studied it. So I think what we're realizing is that we potentially could do a lot. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. And we'll move over because our other two panelists joined, which is actually really good from a logistics standpoint for me, so we can just keep on moving. But Jasmine, really, really great to kind of sit up here with you. I know we connected in the last few months, and I was really, really intrigued at what was happening at Rejuve AI. We got to hear a lot in the panel with Tom as well, but would love to hear about the origin story of Rejuve, and again, similar kind of framing to the question, what was that spark of passion that kind of ignited this journey for you?
All right. So as I mentioned before, Rejuve was actually incepted several years ago as kind of a spinoff of this larger entity called SingularityNet, and I got involved in that community several years ago, just on a volunteer level. At the time, I was still working in inpatient medical coding, so I was working remotely at that time. But after a while, I started to find myself, wanting to spend more time working on this other side hobby project than I was on my actual job. And then I kind of took a year off and just kind of traveled the world and kind of rediscovered. So I did that gap year thing later on, in my late 20s instead of 18. And so I stayed always in contact. And then an opportunity came about for me to actually join on permanently. And I started out in the product management side, and then quickly kind of moved up to CEO and executing the vision into reality. And we've been building the app and product ever since.
Amazing. And what was the transition like, going from the product side to the CEO with the responsibilities, the investor relations, the research relations and everything? How have you found that? Were there challenges? Did you take to it like a fish to water? How has it been?
I mean, yes, there's always new challenges emerging every day, really. But I found it super exciting and thrilling. and it's kind of what I always wanted. So I do feel like I'm actually living a dream come true in this role, and working for a company like this that's working to extend human lifespan, because I've always been passionate about health and wellness. That's why I was originally in the healthcare side. And also in holistic medicine as well, like, that sort of thing, like the nature and the green space and how these other factors are affecting your health more so than just, okay, you're sick, what do you need to take to fix it,
Yeah. And looking a little bit to the future, what's the potential of what you're doing? So utilizing advanced technologies within AI and blockchain, what's the potential for that to advance the human condition across, let's look at it more horizontally. So there's Rejuve, but as that starts to get applied, as blockchain begins to become more understood across the different industries and how we can implement it, whether it's on the front end or the back end, how can that advance the human condition?
So I guess the ultimate goal, at least, is to have a wellness and longevity kind of ecosystem and like economic framework, so that people are incentivized to contribute their data and have kind of personal ownership over it, and it extends all the way into actual product development, so that if your data becomes very important in a solution that merges into the market, that you're still receiving kind of benefits from that, and that it's not just like kind of going out into nowhere and aimlessly donated. So that's one aspect, definitely, is the data ownership and connectivity to it, and being able to understand what's actually happening from beginning to end, and not having such a big disconnect in the technicalities of it. And then also, just being able for more people to access different therapies that can improve their life, and be able to have options for improving their condition, and not be so stuck in one situation, even though you might have been born in an unfortunate situation, that we're opening up new pathways for people to be able to travel and see new things.
Yeah, so it's bringing together that community element, I guess, and then considering there's a lot of amazing people on the panel, not me, you three, but also in the audience as well. What are some of the needs? What do you need within the next kind of 3, 6, 12 months to further realize what you've achieved so far? Like, how can everyone here provide assistance or help to that dream?
Well, the first way would be to download our app when it's released, and participate in that data contribution, receive your personalized insights, recommendations, and engage. And we are building very much a community framework. So we're also linking up with clinicians and researchers as well, to be able to really make that ecosystem and network really begin to build, so that we can connect people with providers, and that we're using these insights that we're generating in our app not to replace physicians and care, but to be able to assist and accelerate and make better protocols for care.
Cool, thank you. And now I can move to my left a little. So, but Brittany, it's been super fun getting to know you in person over the last 24 hours. But what I want to understand about DigiCare Realized and your mission and your story. So, within AI and what you're doing in the back end, it can be applied horizontally across different sectors. Why start with brain health? Is it your professional experience? Is it an emotional connection, or why start there?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I too love origin stories. I think they're fun to watch and listen to. So it's been a pleasure hearing your guys too. So by background, worked for life science companies and commercialized the first ever digital medicine system that was approved by the FDA, and that came through in our panel before. But one of the things that happened when I was working on that program, and that the technology was focused actually in serious mental illness. And I worked on this product for 4 years, but it was only 2 years in that I had this pause, and I was like, wow, if this technology was available for my family, it would have made the difference. So my uncle actually is living with bipolar, and the way I characterize it, it's not the pretty kind. And in the US, what you often see is when it comes to mental health, unfortunately, jail and prison tends to be the best health care. And that's actually what has happened with my uncle. And I look back on some of that, and I recognize that my own family actually didn't really understand this. You think about my grandmother. My grandmother really didn't understand how she could tap into the healthcare system, find the education, find the tools to really support the severity of my uncle's disease. And as you watch through years, because it's been a family experience, you kind of see the impact, and you kind of also see the impact of having the stigma that surrounds it, and sometimes the deafening silence on topics that we just don't tackle as a family. And it made me realize the importance of really elevating and advancing how we're approaching these complex brain diseases. And what I would just say is, when it comes to complex brain disease, I think we all crave a cure. And I am so very appreciative for all of the researchers and academics and patients that are individuals that participate in clinical trials so we can get a cure. But where I get the fire in the belly is really being able to apply what I would call now my superpowers in how to use technology and data to innovate and modernize care in complex brain disease. And you start to kind of look across themes, and the same themes of challenges of those living with the diagnosis or their families. It's the same. And so I see that across Alzheimer's disease. I see it in ALS, Parkinson's. So call me ambitious, but I want to modernize them all.
Very ambitious. But no, that's, well, to that point then, and just super quickly, how does DigiCare Realize work in the back end on the AI side with the electronic health records that you can, after the brain health vertical, you're able to revolutionize all the other sides? So just if you can give us the 2-minute high level. I didn't want to go too much into the company, but I think it was a nice little way to kind of ask that.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, had a good opportunity to kind of share with you like our algorithm, and being able to take this methodology and really help health systems comb through the data source that I think right now we all agree is a little untapped. And so really what it is being able to kind of take the identification of these at-risk individuals, and then being able to provide that signal or that output to providers, so that way when these patients are, or really even ourselves or our loved ones are going in to seek the care of a provider, we're able to prioritize the right conversations at the right time. And so at a high level, it's really being able to translate this knowledge of where we are at risk or where we are in our personal journeys of brain health, and then really being able to activate these conversations so we can get the interventions or the treatments needed.
Yeah, and you also almost answered the last question that I was going to ask everyone, but I would like to get everybody's perspective on how technology can impact our health span, and maybe a point or two about what might need to change, or what do you want to see changed, so that we can realize that a little bit sooner. And the more I say realize, I'm like, I really like the name DigiCare Realize, because there's a lot of realizations, but maybe Deb, we can start with you on that one, because why not?
Sure. I think in listening to the individuals speak this morning, what I am very firmly a believer in, and I think all of us as founders might feel that way, you have to take action, right? Data that's not actionable, information that a patient doesn't feel emotionally attached to take action on, all of that's really nice if we collect a lot of information and we create a lot of new treatments. But unless we are actually engaging the patients and working with them directly so that they're taking their own health care, their own life, their quality of life, and taking that and extending into longevity of life, then we're not really doing it yet. So, I mean, I don't really talk that much about the company. I don't usually pitch it so much, but the reality is like we are an individual pain measurement, but we're more than that. We're also an effective state measurement, and potentially we have the ability to interact with the technologies that each of you are creating, and probably a lot of you in the room, to be able to give feedback to the patient that what they're doing is making a difference in their life. And they can see it second by second, day by day, month by month, year by year. And that can generate healthy habits, because just like maybe losing weight and stepping on a scale, it gives you that feedback for success, and then you want to keep going because you're seeing a change. And that, I think, is where there's potential power for all of us as we work together.
Together. And Jasmine, the importance of technology to impact our health span.
Yeah, so kind of building upon that, so it seems that everything's going into personalized and preventative medicine. So we do really need to start there, is being able to individualize the disease protocols to reach to different types of personalities, different types of backgrounds, nationalities, everything, and being able to step in and prevent these situations and detect that ahead of time to increase the quality of life. Because I think maybe some will be familiar with this concept of longevity escape velocity, and it's like, how long do you need to stay alive until the next technological breakthrough happens to be able to make you live even longer? And I think that, we have to start with those before we can get to the regenerative solutions. And then on the AI side, being able to utilize simulations, that's something we're really big on as well. Being able to collect and generate enough data to be able to have a realistic and real-time responsive simulation to be able to see which things and at a high accuracy rate would be most effective for you, and be able to kind of run and play that out and be able to prescribe the best methods, pretty much.
And Brittany, the closing words of the morning track panel. Same question for you, no pressure.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the visual that I have with the roadmap to kind of support longevity is actually just a plain map. And the reason I say that is we were having a lovely conversation last night about, remember back in the day when you would go to MapQuest and print out directions? And now I'm like, fast forward, look what technology and innovation and even AI is doing. It's like you can seek directions on your phone, and if you don't want to pay, in the US, if you don't want to pay a toll or you want to avoid an accident, you can actually make a real-time decision based off that. So for me, I'd love to be able to translate that into healthcare, so all of us can have the insight into the path that is best for us, so that way we can live the life that we define, that'll make us happy and successful, and that human connectedness. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about, is finding the joy and maintaining that joy so we can thrive.
Amazing. And yeah, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who came to the Enable Health Innovation Morning in partnership with the Longevity Summit Dublin. I intentionally don't like to introduce myself at the beginning, because it's not really about me. It's more so about everybody else up on stage here. But a partner at Enable Health, our other partners, Mark and Jordan, are also here. We're here to chat with everybody afterwards as it relates to healthcare innovation as well. And yeah, big round of applause for Jasmine, Deborah, and Brittany, please.